What do you think about when you think about the most influential civilizations in history? Today I'll be talking about the Roman Empire. I'll be talking about the Roman culture, the army, and the science and architectural innovations. First, I'll talk about the Roman culture. The culture of the Romans were rich and diverse, and shaped by the many lands, people, and nations it had control of. The Romans valued family, tradition, and social order. Latin was their main language. It was used for everyday life and heavily used in politics. They did have a second language. It was Greek. It was used for trading and buying goods at the market because most of Eastern Europe already knew Greek and that's how they used to trade. And according to Kathleen MacDonald in an article of The Language of the Roman Empire, Latin would become the foundation for many modern languages like Spanish, French, and Italian. And also, the Romans would love entertaining themselves. They loved watching the gladiator fights. They loved watching the chariot races they hosted. And they loved watching theater performances. Religion also played a pretty big role in their everyday life and culture. At first and throughout most of the Roman Empire time, they believed in many gods, but eventually it would become an important center for the spread of Christianity. Now that I've talked about the Roman Empire, I'll be talking about the Roman army. The Roman army was one of the strongest, most organized military forces at that time. The soldiers were called legionaries. They were highly trained and disciplined. At a very young age, at like 4 or 5, they would start training to be a legionary. They fought in groups called legions, which would include a couple hundred men to thousands of men. And according to Carolina in Introducing to Legion Life in the Roman Army at British Museum, the Romans used advanced strategies, strong armor, and powerful weapons like gladiuses, a short sword, a shield, and spears to develop their strategies. And you might be thinking that with how much land they had, it would be pretty hard for them to effectively mobilize their army to take down rebellions if there's a new war going on. But it wasn't that hard, honestly, due to the roads that they built. The roads were very effective and helped speed up how fast the soldiers could move and redeploy. And now that I've talked about the Roman army, finally, I will talk about the Roman science and architectural. The Romans made many contributions to science and engineering. While they borrowed some ideas from the Greeks, they improved them and applied them in a practical way. For example, they developed advanced system for roads, not just for their armies, but also for transporting goods from one city to another. And they built aqueducts. As an article called Roman Aqueducts on History.com, the Roman aqueducts were a channel used to transport fresh water to highly populated areas, and aqueducts were amazing feats of engineering given the time period. The aqueducts will allow fresh water to come in from a lake or spring, and it would be used for some baths, public baths, they had baths, or it would be going to the plumbing, which would also knock out all of the waste and like bad water into a separate area they designated for that water. They also mixed concrete and had like layers of rocks to put the concrete on to make the buildings really strong, especially the roads. And the buildings well, we can still see them now today. If you go to Italy, you can still see a couple of their buildings, like the Colosseum, still up with very little renovation from us. Now that I've talked about the Roman culture, the Roman army, and the Roman engineering and science, I will hope that the next time you think about influential cultures, you will think of the Romans. Thank you.